structure. They also both have a long prehensile tongue. Now, prehensile means finger-like. They're eyeballs, so it's pretty helpful at helping them grab those leaves, even off the tops of trees. That's a pretty cool animal over there. Starting to work their way down from behind those logs to our left is a black rhinoceros. I actually got another one of those black rhinos on our left-hand side, standing on the side of that hill. The black rhinos have a pointed prehensile upper lip, just like those okapis' tongues. Those black rhinos will use that triangular prehensile upper lip to help them grab leaves off the trees or bushes, or even grasses off the ground. On our right-hand side, we're going to see a pretty diverse group of antelope over here. And the lighter brown ones behind those bongos, those are called greater kudu. Now the bongos will use their horns to help them get around a little bit easier in the forest, help them duck under branches, and move not to have horns. These ones are females. If you look on your spotting guide, the greater kudu up there, those have horns. That's because that's what the males will look like. So you can tell that these ones out here are females. Both the bongos and the greater kudu do have those stripes going down their backs. Those stripes are a form of camouflage. It's meant to mimic the sunlight in between the trees of the forest. It really helps them blend into their surroundings, especially on sunny days. As we round this corner, we're coming into the Sabi River next. Here, hopefully, we're going to see some aquatic animals. Looks like the first ones that I'm spotting are going to be on our right-hand side. Pelican. And if you look underneath the water, also to our right-hand side, you might be able to spot a pair of Nile hippopotamus down there, too. Hopefully, we'll get another look at those hippos. But I do want to talk about those pink-backed pelican. They get their name from that very mating season. Top part of their bill will also turn that slight pink color. It sort of looks like they are blushing. Oh, now that is that other group of those hippos on our left. Now, a group of hippos is called a bloat. So I think we've got a little bloated hippos over there. They will spend most of their day fully submerged underneath the water. They only have to come up for air about every 8 minutes or so. Instead of swimming or floating through the river, those hippos do prefer to walk along the very bottom of the riverbed. It uses up a little bit less energy, keeps them fully submerged underneath the water, which helps them stay cool as well. Trees or bushes to hide behind out here. So that means instead of relying on their camouflage like those animals do out in the forest, animals here in the savannah tend to be a little bit faster, a little bit more agile, much better at outrunning their predators rather than hiding from them. It's also home to some of the most famous animals in Africa. Animals like giraffes, zebras, elephants, all those guys call the savannah home. Hopefully we'll be able to see at least a couple of them out here today. Looks like the first ones that I'm spotting are going to be those large red and white cattle up ahead. Pretty poor example of those fast and agile animals I was talking about earlier. But these are called Ankole cattle. Ankole cattle are also known as Watusi cattle, named after the tribe that first domesticated them out here in Africa. Each of them have those really big horns. Those horns are actually a way that they will help keep this honeycomb structure. That honeycomb structure allows them to disperse excess body heat, helps maintain their lower body temperature. Other than that honeycomb structure, they are completely hollow, so they're quite a bit lighter in weight than a lot of people believe as well. Instead of being bred and developed for meat or milk production like other cattle breeds, Ankole cattle were actually held more of as a status symbol. They're used as a form of currency traded for goods and services. For cattle that you had, the higher your status was. Another look at them as we keep moving on a little bit. There is a couple African painted dogs up to our left, laying down on the backside of that rock ledge. These painted dogs are some of the most successful predators out here on the savannah. Got a success rate of over 80%. It's pretty unheard of. For context, lion success rate is only around 30%. One of the reasons why those dogs are so good at hunting is because they are pack hunters, so they'll all work together to help take down their prey. Couple wildebeest off to our right and our left-hand side. Behind those wildebeest and Ankole cattle, might be able to spot a trio of those sable antelope with those curved horns back there. Those sable antelope use those curved horns to help deter predators from jumping on their backs. Also use those horns for self-defense. They're actually one of the few antelope species that will use their horns to help defend themselves instead of just running away right away. Those wildebeest that we passed by, those gray antelope, they are herd animals. During their migration, they can be pretty large groups, up to 1.5 million. Normally they aren't found in those large groups are going. They tend to stay in smaller groups until they do all come together for that great migration. When they do come together, it can be a little bit difficult for them to keep track of each other. So they have scent glands around their faces and by their feet. Those leave behind unique scent trails, helping sure nobody gets lost or forgotten about when they're in those big groups. Wildebeest African name Gnu, spelled G-N-U, comes from the sound that they make. So they make sort of a low grunting sound, kind of sounds like new. That's where they get their African name from. A couple more of those wildebeest up ahead, as well as a couple of those really small light brown antelope. Those are called springbok. Springbok are one of the smallest antelope species, but they're also one of the fastest. These little guys can run around 50 to 60 miles per hour. That does make them one of the top 10 fastest land mammals in the world. Also do this really cool thing called pronking, where they'll jump up off of all four of their feet pretty high up in the air, around 9. Springbok also have a little flap of skin on their backs. When that opens up, they've got a bright patch of white fur that shows, and that is also thought to communicate excitement. They'll do that sometimes when they're pronking. Coming up on our left and our right hand side, we're going to get a really, really close look at a pair of Maasai giraffes. Wow. There's actually a couple more of those giraffes over on our left-hand side, that corner over there. Now, Maasai giraffe are one of the taller giraffe species, growing to be around 18 to 20 feet tall. One of the ways to tell that these are Maasai giraffe is their spotting pattern. So take a look at the edges of their spots. They've got that sort of jagged, irregular, rough pattern that is unique to these animals. Total. We'll do that in pretty short, quick naps throughout the day, around 5 to 10 minutes long each. We'll also sleep standing up. It takes a lot of energy for them to get up from off of the ground, so it's just a little bit more efficient for them to sleep standing up. Giraffes will spend most of their day eating, around 20 hours a day. Seeing some fallen trees up to our right-hand side takes a pretty large animal to do that, like those elephants. I think we'll actually get a little bit better look at this clearing up ahead. You may have been able to see them flapping their ears. That's one of the ways that elephants will help keep themselves cool. So just by flapping their ears, you can actually cool down up to 15 degrees. Flapping their ears cools down the air around them. I'm sure you guys can see all of the blood vessels going through those ears as well. Blood in those vessels cools down to a lower temperature, and when it re-enters their body, it helps cool their whole systems down. Those elephants are very large animals. Lots of farmers in Africa actually face crop damage from those big elephants getting a little bit too close to their fields. So a couple different conservation teams teamed up with those farmers to help try and find a solution. One of the things that they learned is that those elephants are not a fan of bees. They don't like going near beehives. Those conservation teams are able to help those farmers by putting beehive fences surrounding their fields. That'll prevent them from getting a little bit too close and damaging their crops. It also prevented those elephants from getting poached. Farmers can also benefit by selling off the honey from those beehives as an additional source of income. And bees are also pollinators, so help the crops and any other plant life in the area grow a little bit better as well. Now to our right hand side, we're able to see some tusk marks in that red clay. It's a sign that there might be some more elephants sticking around this area. They like to use their tusks to mark that clay, sort of like they're marking their territory. You also might find elephants eating that clay. It has lots of nutrients in it that they can't find in their normal everyday diet. So they'll use it sort of as a supplement to add those nutrients back into their food. Inside, we're coming up to a group of greater flamingos. Greater flamingos are one of the largest and lightest in color flamingo species. Anybody know where they get that bright, iconic pink color from?
Shrimp they eat.
Yeah, from the shrimp, or the food that they eat. So there's a protein in the shrimp called beta-carotene. It's a protein that gives them that bright pink color. And if you look close, right to our left right now, you're able to see those little gray balls on flip. Those are the baby greater flamingos. When they hatch, they are that gray color, and over time they'll get their white feathers. After they eat a lot of those shrimp with that protein, beta-carotene in them, they'll start to turn that slight pink color. Lots of animals in Africa have to find ways to help keep themselves cool, and they can't all rely on their ears like elephants can. So a lot of them will use mud pits like that one off to our left-hand side. They'll roll around and wallow in that mud. That not only helps keep them cool, but it also acts as a sunscreen and a bug repellent. So it has lots of uses for the animals out here. Coming up on our left-hand side, might be walking away from us right now, but we can take a pause to try and see if they make their way out from behind those bushes. Look close, might be able to spot a couple cheetah in the back. These cheetah are the world's fastest land mammals. They can reach speeds up to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. One of the reasons why they are able to accelerate so quickly is because of their claws. So those claws help them get a better grip on the ground when they do decide to start running. Most of the time when we see them, they are usually laying down trying to save up their energy. Take a picture right hand side, maybe. There's an Afrikaans word of bite, and bite means white. Over time, bite got misheard as white. That's how we got their name, white rhinoceros. We do have an African lion. These lions can sleep for up to 20 hours during the day. It's pretty cool to see him sitting up right now. That is one of the reasons why the lions really like the rocks up there. It gives them that nice vantage point when looking down at their surroundings for any prey that might be in the area. Just another reminder to remain fully seated at all times and not make any sounds at those animals. We are entering their homes, so it's important to be respectful of them. Those rocks also provide a vantage point when looking down at their surroundings for any of their prey that might be in the area, as well as giving them that nice spot in the sun to lay down and sleep. So look at those white rhinos. Those rhinoceros will grow continuously throughout their life. They like to use rocks and trees as a file to help file them down. Looks like the female lion, the lioness, is also laying down in front of that rock to our left. These shaggy brown ants giving us the stink eye right now. These are called water buck.
Hi, friend.
These water buck get their name from the fact that they can drink a pretty extraordinary amount of water. Also typically hanging around those pretty big bodies of water as well. Wow, they really are staring us down right now. Their skin secretes an oily substance, and that is thought to help waterproof them. Keep their coat looking a little bit nicer when they do get wet. To your right hand side, looks like just on the side of that path.
Right there? It's a dinosaur.
As we are heading out of the savannah, we're going to be coming up to the warden's post. Warden has a really important job of helping to protect all the animals out here on the reserve. It also looks like they've got a couple of these Nigerian dwarf goats. These goats are really good for the village as well as the surrounding community. They're able to provide products like milk and cheese to all of the villagers. They also tend to be a little bit more sustainable than larger animals like cattle. Since they're smaller, they take up less space, and that means less habitat loss for the surrounding wildlife. Those goats also tend to be a little bit less picky eaters, so they can utilize different types of pasture and allow for less land to go to waste overall. But since we have passed by the warden's post, we are going to start to make our way back down to the village, and unfortunately that does mean our safari is coming to an end. A lot of the animals that we saw out on the reserve today are endangered, and they don't have voices to speak up for themselves. So we have to be the ones that help them and do that for them. Some of the best ways to do that are by making sure we're still doing the small things. So turning lights off for rooms that we're not in, lowering our water usage, using wood alternatives like bamboo. In addition to just recycling, all of those do a lot to help the animals out here. But if you guys are interested in doing a little bit more to help, you can always donate to conservation funds. One of my favorites is the Disney Conservation Fund. They actually also have that other thing we talked about a little bit earlier on in our safari day. So if you guys are interested in donating, then definitely talk to a cast member over at Animal Kingdom, and they'll be able to point you in a good direction to donate. But here in Harambe, we do not like to say goodbye. It's far too final and far too sad. So instead, we like to use the swap